Welcome in, second cousins. It's good to be here with you, and it's good to be here with this man, Jason the Pich, my co-host, my cousin. And Pich, the last topic that we had was something I felt passionately about, and you added this one to the pot, so I'll let you take it away, sir.
Yeah, I think, listen, you may have seen a thumbnail that has really brought you here, suggesting that I'm for the tank, and I want to let you know why. I want to just explain it to you why first.
Yes.
I need it to make sense to you people.
Explain yourself.
There's Orlando Magic right now. I think the players know it. I think the team knows it. I don't think it's a secret, right? We can't shoot the ball. We can't score the basketball. It's a problem. The worst thing that can happen for the Orlando Magic in these last 17 games or so, 16 games, is if we finish well and end up as like the 6th seed, because then everyone in the front office is going to think, well, if we wouldn't have had those injuries, we would have been right there. I'm here to tell you, no, we're not. We would have still, even if we finish 4th or 5th or somewhere in that spot, if you're not the Cavs or the Celtics, maybe the Knicks, but mostly if you're not the Cavs or the Celtics, you don't matter to the rest of the basketball world when it comes right down to it. And I know, because I've watched a fair amount of Western Conference basketball. It tends to be on later. I'll happen to catch games, and I'm astounded as I watch teams from the Western Conference. When I watch even a hurt and beat up Mavericks team compete, the Kings, the Suns, the Clippers, the T-Wolves, these are all teams that have slightly better records than us, and those are the 10th, 11th, 9th, and 8th teams respectively as I currently speak in the Western Conference. This Magic team might be decent in the Eastern Conference, but they are not going to be a title contender at the rate they're going. And we have all been about a growth flower on this channel. And we started when we started this podcast, it was one of our worst Orlando Magic seasons of all time. And I watched every fucking game, my friend. And I'm telling you, it wasn't fun, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't feel as bad about the team at any point during this podcast as I am right now. I'm more nervous right now than I have been any time in this last part, because it's clearly something's wrong. Nothing was done to fix it at the trade deadline. So we have to just kind of get through this season, and something better be done in the offseason, or things are going to stay right where they are for the current franchise, which is very mid. And mid in the Eastern Conference, by the way, not mid in the Western Conference, mid in the Eastern Conference, which is not great. And then we're just going to run it back. If we have a good end to this season, they're going to run it back, assuming that if not for the injuries, we'd be right there. And changes need to be made. You all know it. And something needs to be done to prove that those changes need to be. The best things that can happen to team is if we do not make those playoffs. Even if we were in the play-in, if we lose, if we don't make that set, if we're not the 7 or 8 seed, that's a big negative. That's enough to shake things up, to make them say, hey, we have to make a splash. We have to do something. Because I'm an Orlando Magic fan since day one, since 1989. I've been following this team, and I have seen the way things have gone, and that's why I'm so skeptical, people. It's why I want the tank out. Because when the Magic have a window, it's a small fucking window. You can't really crawl out it. It's like a window in a jail, right? It's got bars on it. You might be able to sneak through, but you're really not going to get anything big through there, right? We've each era that was good had one finals run, right? And maybe a handful of other decent little playoff runs, but nothing crazy. And this one this one actually is reminding me of teams that didn't get to the finals. This one's reminding me a lot of the Aaron Gordon, Fournier, Vucevic teams.
Oh, you take that back.
Listen, I disliked those teams so much, I'd refuse to watch the Magic back then, because they were thinking this was it. We had our guys, and they weren't the guys. Yeah. Fournier was never the guy, despite how many times you tried to tell me he had a great summer and he's going to be amazing. I was like, never bought a jersey of a player during that era of Orlando Magic basketball. I knew they weren't going anywhere, right? And I love these two guys right here. This is Franz and this is Paulo. We love these guys, right? They're good, but they aren't Luka Doncic good. They're not going to score 70 points single-handedly by themselves. They need a squad around them to win games. And that's what we need to put around them. And so far, we haven't put the proper team around them. You know, our defensive-based team would work if our one offensive player was Luka Doncic, because then we could just let him score the bulk of the points and worry about plan D. That's not the way we're really built. And what we're built for right now is not good. It's not going to fit in the modern NBA. When I watch some of these other teams in the Western Conference play, sometimes I'm amazed that our team is in the same league as them because it just doesn't look correct to see all these guys, no-name guys coming off the bench, guys that were drafted in the second round, guys that weren't drafted, getting key minutes, hitting three-pointers. Every team in the NBA can shoot three-pointers better than us. It is annoying to even talk about at this point that we don't have anybody that can shoot the basketball. In the NBA, the National Basketball Association, you have to be able to score points, and we have built a completely defensive-based roster. In the NBA, a good offense will beat a good defense. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm doing. You know, another team, there's a team in the Western Conference that got real defensive heavy, right? How they do it? That's the Mavericks. Yeah, they're 10th right now. So they're not good either, right? They decided, oh, we're going to go all on defense and we're going to be great that way. No, if you have good, I've seen people defend Luka where they're in his shorts and he throws up a great shot and he makes it. Same thing with Nikola Jokic. You can make that case for players all across NBA history, right? They're defended well, there's hands in their face, they just shoot it and they make it. Steph Curry, how many times have you seen him do it? Right? So a good defense is good, but it is not enough to overcome not having an offense. This is basic shit, right? This is like when you're teaching somebody to play chess and telling them how to use the pawns. Like this is stuff that shouldn't have to be explained to the Orlando Magic, but somewhere along in this front office or a coaching staff, they're making these weird decisions, going in a route that gets us a little excited, gets a little hype around the team. People start to come back in. They believe a little bit, and then you kind of crush our spirits because if you don't keep these two gentlemen happy, in a few years, they're going to go elsewhere. And they're going to be like, well, we're going to do basketball things somewhere else. Or at some point, we'll get rid of them at the trade deadline so we can rebuild. And we shouldn't be thinking about that in the next 2 or 3 years because our growth flower was bursting out of the soil, headed for the sun, ready to sprout leaves from everywhere and just petals and just make all this kind of nectar that pollen, bees would come from miles around. Yeah. And that would make me sneeze because I'm allergic to it, but it would just be good for the planet. And instead, it's really reminding me of what happens when you get guys that are like, they could be good, but maybe they're not good for this team and the way this team's set up. And we have a bunch of those guys. And the only guy we really brought in the offseason, KCP, he's pretty much Jalen Suggs, right? And Jalen Suggs is out right now. So he's pretty much Jalen Suggs with experience. That's about it. Like he's not quite playing as good as defense as Suggs can play. And I don't know, he's on the court more. That's about it. But like you didn't really do anything to shake things up to change the team. We need to make a big change. Something big splashy has to happen. Every once in a while, you've got to move across the country and start fresh in Dallas, Texas. You've got to do it once in a while, right? Like you won't get any new results if you don't try some new things once in a while. And this is advice that anyone can take, by the way, including myself sometimes. But I'm just sick of seeing the Orlando Magic run this same basketball team out there and expect me to want to watch it. And it's why I have become a mid fan sometimes. And you've called me a casual several times. This franchise causes me to be a casual because they're often not watchable for long periods of time. And this season they have become that. And it's the first time in this podcast where I felt like, even though the teams were worse in the past, like at least I enjoyed watching the growth and seeing where they're going. And right now, we're falling backwards and we're not gaining. So it's not as fun to watch. And if this happens again next season, I can't do it. I'm telling you right now, like I'm going to go back to that mid-level status unless they make some sort of big change to make things happen. It could be a coaching change. Yeah. I'm not suggesting that's the change, but some big change has to happen to reinstall the vigor in our fan base that, hey, let's not hit the panic button. We still have some good things here, but recognize the faults, right? Everybody makes mistakes. You know, for every, hey, we got right on Paulo. We only missed on Jett Howard. Maybe, you know, like some mistakes were made, but you have to do something to try to right the ship before it gets into that mind frame where we just kind of keep trying to run the same players out, finish 5th or 6th, try to win a first round playoff game. Can't really do it. Maybe we win a game or 2 and get everybody's kind of hopes up that maybe next year's our year. Let's not have that go on. Let's actually grow, you know, let's get better. And I'm
interesting.
That's why I suggest the tank, my guy, because I know I'm right. If this team goes on a run and finishes like 6th and misses the play-in altogether, they're going to think, well, we're close. We're right there. And we're not. So that would be bad for business.
Okay, well, it's interesting you say you got to make that cross the country move sometimes. Nandra and I were talking about how it was like the first nice day here in Connecticut. It was like 60 today. It's like, man, we feel so good. We want to kind of move south. Maybe we're actually talking about maybe making that plunge, like going south, going to Texas or going to Tennessee or going to North Carolina. That has nothing really to do with the point. I'm just letting you know that's a crazy thing that you brought up that I was talking about today.
You're making the point. You're saying, hey, I don't like the weather here. It makes me a little miserable, right? Waking up
winter.
when it's always in the 20s and the 30s. You can avoid that by doing this thing. So like, if that's really important to you, boom, and you do this thing, and then you don't have to worry about that anymore. And it's just, that's the kind of things the Magic don't do typically throughout the history of the franchise all the time, which is rather annoying. Like they built around Dwight Howard good by giving him a bunch of 3-point shooters. Could we have 1.5 of those type of guys on our team right now? I mean, what's up?
Yeah, give me one Rashard Lewis. Give me one JJ Redick. Give me one Mikhail Petrus. Give me someone like that.
That was a splash. We got out in that free agent market. We grabbed Rashard Lewis. That's the kind of thing you need to do. Where's that move from? Where's that move coming?
Well, it might be coming. It might be coming. And you also made a point, not your largest point, but bringing up the Dallas Mavericks who tried to build around defense. It sounds like Nico Harrison and Jeff Weltman have been talking. And maybe that's where Nico got the idea, right?
I was going to say, where did Mose coach before? He goes to Dallas.
And Weltman's like, you know what you need to do? That Luka guy, he's got too much offense. He's really dragging you down. You need a defensive-minded.
For me, you guys are only in 10th place in the Western Conference. We are in 7th right now. Listen, let me tell you, defense. Gotta be defense. You win that opening tip, you hit that first basket, then you just play D and win it 2-0. Look, it sounds outrageous for me to say that, right? Because it's a joke.
No.
But in his heart of hearts, that's the kind of team he's built. Yeah. He's thinking that like we're only going to score 88 points today. Hopefully that's enough for us to win because our defense holds up. But no, because the really good offenses, Cleveland, they kicked our ass. Yeah. The really good offenses, they find a way to score, man. They have either one guy who can't be stopped or they find a way to find all those dudes you don't really know that aren't household names that are hitting threes because they're open.
Yeah.
We don't have any of those guys.
It has been horrible to watch, Pich, man. I haven't watched all of the games for the last few. I've only watched part of them, and I'm like, I'm going to sleep, man. I'm not waking up. I'm not going to bed late and waking up groggy for this team right now. It's just not exciting enough basketball. I don't want to see any more slugfests where we get to 90 points or 97 points, and we're just trying to win, like you said, 99-91. It's crazy in the modern NBA that is how it's moving. Now, I mean, to your point about the tank, I think I got to put the brakes on that tank. And there's some large brakes. We'll see. We're in 8th place right now, Pich. We're tied with the Heat at the moment. And we are 3.5 games ahead of the Bulls for 10th place. I don't think we wouldn't fall far enough to have the Sixers surpass us. They just shut down Embiid. They're in all types of disarray. They're 8 games behind us or so, 7.5 games behind us. So that doesn't really feel real. And I guess when you first broached this topic, I was kind of scratching my head because normally when people say fire up the tank, they're saying, hey, it's kind of a lost season, which it feels like, honestly. So I'm with you there. So if it's a lost season, let's try to get another player. Let's sneak into the lottery here, and maybe we can get another piece to add here. But that's not what you're saying. What you're saying is that we need to have the tank in order to wake up this front office, in order so that we don't rinse and repeat and say, oh, it's okay, things will change. And that's an interesting take. That is an interesting
Well, the other thing that you just rattled off where we were in the standings, how many we are behind this thing, but you didn't say the standings. We're 30 and 35. That's 5 games under 500, right? That's not good.
No, so I think our over-under was like 42 or 43 at the beginning of this year.
The other teams above us and around us, those records, that's not good for them either. Just because we're going to make the playoffs because they have that new stupid play-in thing that gets 2 extra teams in, it doesn't make it a team that's going to win the NBA championship, like, or compete at a high level to get to it. Like, I would rather see us not be in the playoffs than like go in the first round and get fucking blown out 4-0 by the Celtics.
But doesn't that
Or
achieve the same
worse yet,
purpose
the
that you would
Cavs.
want? I mean, well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, let's set that up, right? You just barely get in. You fall to 9 or 10. You win the 2 games you need, so you're the 8th seed. You're now against the Cavs. The Cavs fucking sweep you, run you off the court. You can't even get a victory against them. Doesn't that achieve the same eye-opening wake-up call that you want? And so do we really need to tank any more than we already currently are in the standings?
It does, but I think that breaks the spirit of the players. Losing, getting swept by a team really hurts the players. And if you need evidence of that, look back in Orlando Magic history, because we got swept a lot to get out of the playoffs with some good teams, with some Shaq and Penny teams that got swept. And that team, they lost their heart because of those performances where they just whoosh, swept out of the finals, swept out in the semis the next year, just swept. That's a bad thing for a team to like limp in and then just get worked like that. Now, if we get in and give the Cavs a fight, well, that's good. But on the other hand, then it tells that front office, hey, this is the number 1 team, and we just took them to their limits again.
Yeah.
We took them to 7 games last year.
Yeah.
You know, we can't give those motherfuckers any hope, right? But we have to give them no hope without completely crushing our squad. Now, take a look at the Dallas Mavericks. They missed the playoffs the year before last. Missed them.
Yeah.
Then they went to the finals the next year, right? Because they were close, but no cigar. So they made a few changes. They made the proper changes at the deadline that got them to be a finals contending team. I'm not suggesting that we're that close to it, that if we miss, we can get back. But if that Mavericks team had limped in and got swept, I don't know if they'd do that run the next year. You know, it changes the way players feel about each other. It ruins the vibes, right? And Magic vibes are supposed to be super high despite being 5 games under 500. But that could completely ruin the look or the feel for one of these players when they think about re-signing long-term. Like, oh man, is this just the way it's going to be here? Like, we're just going to get worked and limp. I know it's only a couple seasons here, but I'd rather see the tank be let's put Jet Howard on the court. Let's start AB.
Right.
Let's let Tristan Da Silva get all the run he wants. He seems like a good in shape young lad. Let him run it out. You know what I mean? Like, let him run until he's even bronzer. Like, let him go. I want to see what those guys got, because I'm sick of us trying to say what we've got and see if players develop this, develop that. In the next 3 years, we need to be trying to compete for an NBA title now. So we should be bringing in guys that are going to make us compete for a title, and realizing what guys we have on our roster that aren't at that level. And there's plenty of them. So whether you're cutting them, trading them, whatever, make the moves to try to make the team better, shake up something somehow, because the idea of doing the same thing over and over and getting a different result is the definition of stupidity, correct?
Yeah, insanity. I think this has been a really demoralizing season. When we talk about, or you think about Kenny, oh my God, I can't talk right now. KCP, Kenny, being brought in some of his opening press conferences, people were asking him questions about, do you think this team has what it takes to make it to the chip? And he was very firm in saying yes. And now we're sitting at 30 and 35, and it just feels like no. I can't go all the way with you, though, Pich. I mean, I just can't believe some of these losses lately. Yes, we just beat the Bucks. That was a great win. But prior to that, we lost to the Bulls without Vooch.
We Raptors twice.
We lost to the Raptors twice. They were trying to lose. They pulled their starters in the fourth quarter, and we couldn't beat them. And to me, that is alarming, because we've got Paulo, we've got Franz. These are our 2 guys that are our cornerstones, and I don't care if everybody else is out. I don't care if it's the G League team around those 2 guys. You should still be able to beat Toronto and the Bulls without Vooch. Like, these are teams that are not good. And it's concerning that even with just Paulo and Franz, we can't put these teams away. But I can't go with you to let's lose as many games as possible this year, even if it is to scare the front office, because I'm just worried about the fragility of the vibes and the players, and I don't want any sinister thoughts creeping into Paulo and Franz's head, like, maybe I'm not one of those guys. Like, maybe I'm not actually good enough to carry a team. Like, I still want us to go 10-7 in these last 17, because I don't want that insidious thought to ever creep into those dudes' heads. I want them to feel that they are him, and let's keep it moving. We had a bad streak, but we bounced back. Let's get into the playoffs. We play the Cavs. Let's go to 6 or 7 again. Shitty year. We wanted to not be playing this team in the first round. We wanted home court advantage. We're going to make, hopefully, the front office. I think Sad Weltman, man, in that Cavs game, the face, I know we've all seen it. Like, I think he gets it now. I guess you're not convinced, though.
Yeah, you like to hope he is convinced, and then your plan totally fine with me. And again, I feel like my version of tank is more like, well, let's throw everything else at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
Because continuing to do the same thing every night isn't working. And Paulo and Franz aren't single-handedly winning you games. So, like, try something else and see what else we have on this roster. Because you're not going to be able to get rid of everybody else. Yeah. You're going to have to keep some of these guys. I mean, hopefully it's not as many, but, like, you know, you could point the finger at a lot of different dudes here and there, but honestly, at the end of the day, it's for me, I'm starting to shift my anger away from the weak sauce gentleman WCJ, who I still very much dislike as a player.
He's been playing all right, though.
Probably a good man, but not a big fan of him as a player. And more towards the coaching or lack of coaching or what's going on in that front office. I just can't believe that a bunch of NBA players have been playing basketball their whole life can't shoot the basketball at a decent rate on a regular basis. Everybody has a bad game here or there. And then you'd like to think also once in a while, like, hey, can't we have a good game? Can't we have one of those days where, like, you know, maybe Cole goes 7 for 10 from 3? Like, can we get the inverse of what we normally get once in a while? Because if we have a game where we shoot well from the outside, we win.
Yeah, not even that well, like 34% or something, like halfway decent.
It doesn't need to be mind blowing.
No,
just put together some decent games once in a while. And, like, when teams aren't hot, usually you keep letting different guys shoot until you find a hot hand. There's got to be somebody on this team that can get hot from time to time. But the way the offense is built is strange, man. I think we need an offensive coordinator. I'm not sure exactly who's doing that. If I had to guess right now, I'd say no one.
Yeah.
It just needs, it looks like playground ball out there sometimes. And we're just trying to get the ball to our two best guys that know how to dribble well and shoot. it's the NBA now. So it just expect better. Like, this would work at a D2 college, but that's not what we're playing. We need guys it's a modern NBA. You need guys that can shoot the three. We have none of those guys.
Hopefully the message has already been heard loud and clear by Weltman, and we don't need to tank. Right now we're at 15, but Pich, I'm going to give it one simulation right now. Let's see. And the Magic are still 15. So yeah, we're just outside of the lottery. Probably not tanking to try to get a draft pick in this, what has been touted as a deep class, but are you with Pich out there, second cousins? Are you feeling like there needs to be a come to Jesus moment, a come to Jesus, and just an eye-opening experience here?
Do you want Paulo and Franz trying to single-handedly win games, throwing up that many shots, having a terrible average, by the way, from the floor, and hurting themselves at this point in the season again? Why? They tear the other oblique. It's like, or do something dumb. Like, let's not ruin their offseason at this point. Let's just get on with it. I mean, I know it's hard for a player. You're there, you suit up, you're going to give all you got, and I expect nothing less from them. But at a certain point, you have to wonder as in a franchise, like, this is a franchise that won't play a guy if he's got a goddamn hangnail. They, like, sit him on the bench, right? Like, oh, we got a load management because that hangnail didn't quite heal after the last game. So, like, you can't tell me that this team's not going to start thinking about resting some guys at a certain point and just going, hey, let's pack it in. And I'm okay with it.
Right. I know I'm not. I want 10 out of 7 of these last ones. All right, second cousins, let us know how you're feeling here as we go to the end of the season. Pich, it's been good. We'll talk to you soon, everybody. Hope to see you down in Orlando. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Peace out.
Thanks for coming.